This is going to be my data analysis and interpretation screencast. To tell you a little bit about how I broke things down, I have 25 students, and I broke them up based on their economic status, either high, medium, or low. And the assessment had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions total, and it covered 2 different standards. So it covered 6.ee.a.1 and 6.ee.a.2.b. And those standards are write and evaluate numerical expressions involving whole number exponents, and write, read, and evaluate expressions in which letters stand for numbers. So it was kind of just basic algebra, solving expressions, and it's broke down between these 8 questions. DOK1 was worth 1 point, DOK2 is 1 point, Another DOK2 was 3 points, a DOK3 was 4 points, and it was the same for the second standard. So this first page is looking at the total score out of the 18 points available. We can see that the class average was about an 85.39, which is on the higher side, but I would love to see that into like the 87s or 88s. We had 2 people who kind of scored low. We've got Max and Jody. Jody's my mom. Sorry, Mom, you didn't do too good here. Not too good overall. Next, we're going to move to performance by standard. So this is the breakdown for 6.ee.a.1 and 6.ee.a.2b. So over here, we can see we could even average these if we wanted to, but we had a couple people fail. We had a 50% for Ava, and Kurt here, he also scored below, lower than we would want. But overall, everybody's averaging above a 70%. So, I guess this guy, I guess you, Dr. Store, I guess you might need to work a little bit harder on this standard. Maybe we can implement some one-on-one strategies for you. Maybe I can pull you out during lunch and we can work on this standard. But overall, this one did pretty good. Same with the second standard, 6.ee.a.2.b. This was solving expressions with variables. We had 3 people not do so great. They're sitting below a 60%. So let's see, for Joanne and Max and Jody, gosh, my mom is struggling. She's really struggling. But maybe for them we can also implement that extra time and really sit down and, break down what is a variable, what is the expression, how do we manipulate this in order to solve. Looking at the performance by DOK, DOK1 averaged about an 87, which is great. We had a few 50% here, which is kind of low. Again, that's where we could put in those extra supports, scaffold the learning, and really just try to find the baseline of where the mistakes are happening, because with DOK1, those are basic recall questions, so it makes me wonder, what am I doing, or what can I do to help these recall questions come more easily? DOK2 was our lowest average with an 81.52. I did this just by adding up all the sums and dividing by 23, the number of students I have in my class. And here we have a 25% for me. Man, I'm really struggling here with DOK2. I wonder what I did wrong. Let's see. That's a 81.52. So it's still good. It's still above average, but I would like to see it a little bit higher. DOK3, we had a couple low scores. And I suppose this one's a little bit low too. I'm sorry, Max. You're really struggling. Max and Kurt and Ava are struggling with DOK3. These are a little bit higher level questions. These require a little bit of application. So I understand why there would be a little bit of struggle. I'm happy to see that it did. It's still pretty low, and it should raise a little bit of a flag, but I think overall DOK3 is okay. And DOK4 would be the computation section, and everybody seemed to do really good. Still struggling with Joanne and Max. I'm going to need to have a serious conversation with Max's parents. But I think there will always be room for improvement. Lastly, let's look at the item performance. So this is by question. DOK 1, the first question, was about an 89.13. This is similar. In DOK 2, the 1 point was 86. DOK 3 was tough. I noticed that only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 25 students got full points. So this is a question that I definitely want to change in the future. I'd maybe want to make it a little bit more easier, or maybe check if the instructions weren't clear. But this one is a big red flag with only 79.71. I mean, similarly here with this DOK2, there's a lot of zeros. I can go through and show you. This is another question where people didn't get full credit when this should have been a simpler question to answer. So maybe this is another question that I may want to change in the future. But overall, this DOK4 was pretty good. This DOK1 was pretty good. It was a little on the lower side for what I'd like what I would like the average to be for a DOK1 recall question. But I think an 80 is livable compared to like this 76 over here. This DOK2 for the second standard is great, 86%. That makes me feel good. Still some areas of concern for my mom, Jody. We're going to have to do some mega work. But I think overall, the two that I would change from these questions from the item performance would be this question 3 for standard 1 and question 2 for standard 2, just because these percentiles are a little bit lower than I'd like them to be. And to talk about my graph, I broke this down between high, medium, and low economic status. You can see all my highlights here. It looks a little bit crazy. But in my graph, you can see that no matter what economic status that they had, they were all pretty similar. This was looking at the overall student performance. So the high economic status students scored about a 15.75 out of the total 18 points. The medium scored a 15.5, and low scored a 14.875. So as we can see, the low economic status students did score a tiny bit lower, but overall, each group of students was pretty comparable, and they did about the same on the exam. So that makes me feel good that I've had consistent questions and that there's nothing that could make things harder for one group versus the other. This has been my screencast. I've loved having this class. I thought this was super fun to make. Even though I didn't get to show up many days during the school year, I will take all of this into the future. It's been really useful to be able to look at data, interpret it, and know how to really pick out the important points from it. So thank you for all your help this semester, Dr. Storr, and I look forward to being in contact about student teaching and anything else. So thank you.